Call the Finance Committee to order. Roll call, please.
Alderman Police,
Here.
Alderman Coles,
Here.
Alderman Winger,
Here.
Alderman Knipe,
Here.
Alderman Cadella,
Here.
Alderman Wesley,
Here.
Alderman Shockey,
Here.
Alderman Lewiton.
Here.
Okay. Any approvals of the minutes of August 23rd, 2007, please?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Report and recommendation, report of Dial a Ride program. Who's, Frank, you taking this one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. You have received in your packet a Dial-A-Ride report. Just an update on cost and operation. We are experiencing a drop in usage and an increase in cost, and I think you need to be made aware of this. This program now serves approximately 60 of our residents, and unless we look at other possibilities than continuing on, we would have to be looking at an increase in our budget. This is for your information and any questions that you might have.
I have one question, Frank. In your memo, you said that we cancel the program and have Addison Township provide the service. Do we have any idea how much that would cost if we drop it and have Addison Township take it over?
Yes, it would cost us nothing. They would have to pay. It would only be for seniors and people with special needs, and they would pay the Addison Township rate.
Okay, and how would that program work? Right now, they call the city and set up a time to be picked up. How would that work in the Addison Township? Will we still run the site through us, or will Addison Township take all of that over?
It would be basically turned over to Addison Township.
We have any idea how that program works?
The Addison Township program, they do this. Of course, it's going to put a strain on their program because then they will have to start doing it for Wooddale. But that's funded out of the township taxes. That's part of the benefit for the people who live in the township. But they can only handle seniors and special needs people. We wouldn't be able to provide that to other people that didn't qualify.
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Charkey. Go ahead.
Out of the 60 residents that use it, about how many are senior or handicapped?
I don't have those figures. I don't know if Mr. Holm would be able to address that question.
I don't have a solid number either, but I do physically know that the majority of them are seniors, and that's a fair statement, but a majority of them are seniors. Right now, our standby van, which is the van with the lift, hasn't gone out for several months. So, I mean, there's
Really?
no one with mobility. I shouldn't say that. There may be mobility issues, but not to the extent where they need the lift.
Okay, and I think the one difference we have between our service and the Addison Township service is that with the Addison Township, you have to call the day ahead of time to make the appointment to be picked up. Because with ours, the people can call that day, can't they?
I'm not familiar with that. That's correct,
Yeah.
according to Mr. Holm.
So the only difference is they would have to call the day ahead of time to Addison Township. Thank you.
Okay.
Alderman Coles?
I had a person call me in Ward 1 that lives on Central. Her daughter is 22 years old. She just got a job. She's handicapped, and she just got a job now for 2 days a week. And she really needs that to get around because she can't. And as far as I'm concerned, I think we would be hurting the citizens in Wooddale by removing this from our budget. I really think that we should keep it in. I mean, seriously, maybe it's slow right now, but it can, because a lot of people are getting older and older, and cars are getting pretty expensive. So, I mean, even though it might go up to $4, it might be worth keeping it in the budget. Thank you.
Alderman Sharkey.
Yeah, our cost this year is $31,500, so I'd like to suggest if we can contact Addison Township and find out if they could take over that service for that young lady, because if she is handicapped, she has special needs. So I think it might be worthwhile checking with them to see if that is possible before we make a decision on this.
Frank, could I ask you one question? We in good shape this year for this budget, for this dial right, or are we looking for action for next year's budget, or what are we looking for here?
This is just, at this point,
Information only.
information only. If there was a special concern that we move this up, we'd work on it a little bit faster, but I didn't want this to come up at budget time and then not be able to give you kind of a heads up.
The only thing that I would ask staff to do at the convenience, and find out how much Addison, how they handle that program with us joining it, on how hard it would be to get them to service us. And if they could even service us, we don't know for sure if they would even consider taking us on. I would like that info, if we could get that. Okay.
Chairman Wesley, certainly we can get that information. I think the main reason why we wanted to bring this to the council's attention is, if you look at the bar graph, our costs in 06-07 were $13.23 per ride, and now they're up to $22.61. And that's before factoring in any gasoline increases. I mean, we have some gasoline increase built into the budget. We also have the union wage increases, where all the drivers' salaries went up considerably. So what we're bringing to you is the fact that we don't have increased usage, but we surely do have increased costs. So, and it's been going in that direction. It's not going down. In fact, just on Monday, we received a notice from Pace that they're raising the rate for the lease of the van by 10%. So these figures were already given to you at $280 a month. Now they want $308 a month to rent the van. So it's
Okay.
you know, everybody's raising their prices.
Okay, Ms. Swinger?
Thank you. I was just looking at the figures, and I just want to make sure I understand. I had taken, if the resident, let's say, paid $4 per ride, and we had to subsidize $6 per ride, making an average $10 taxi ride in the local area. So I did 6 times 1,790 rides this year, and I came up with like $10,740. So if we did the subsidy for this past year, is my math correct that we would have saved $30,000 already?
Right, and we're paying out $40,000 this year.
Right.
So the cost for each of those rides is $22.61, which is more than even universal taxi charges. So it's not cost effective, not in any way that you measure it. It is certainly a convenience for people. One other thing about disabled individuals, it's my understanding that PACE must always provide transportation to people with special needs. Works the same way as Edison Township. You need to call a day in advance, but you are entitled as a special needs person to have PACE deal with your transportation needs, particularly with what Alderman Coles was talking about, where somebody has to go to a job. That's all arranged through PACE. The city gets a PACE van to rent for this particular program, but PACE itself has its own obligations to special needs people.
Thank you. So to sum it up, though, I would almost be leaning towards, working with the township, but also working with a local taxi company and doing a subsidy on certain riders. Thank you.
Alderman Coles?
Good question. When you check with Addison Township, make sure that they allowed to go to Alexan Brothers or Elmhurst Hospital, which our van does go to now, and we'd have to find out if they're allowed to do that, because some of them are not allowed to. So you have to find out about that too.
Okay.
And the distance of where they go, because I know it's Addison Township, but that's controlled by the township. It's not controlled by the city.
That's true.
Any other question that was info only Frank, if you could work on getting that info to us next committee meeting, or that's fine. Report and recommendation, additional bank agreement. I believe we met. Did everyone get this memo with Harris Bank? Okay. We met with Harris Bank, and what I'm trying to do is meet with a lot of the banks in town here and try to get the best interest rates on some of our funds, because our funds downstate is not giving us what we thought would be giving us. So I will turn it over to Maggie for a PowerPoint or whatever way you're going to guide us through this, or?
No, I'm just going to talk.
Okay.
You should have two memos. One
Yep.
is the long one that tells you about each bank.
Yep.
We did have the meeting with Itasca Bank and Trust. As you know, they're Wooddale's primary bank. And right now, Itasca Bank and Trust pays us a sliding scale of interest rates, which I showed you at our last meeting, for anything under $1 million. And then anything over $1 million, they're paying us 10 basis points higher than the Illinois funds. We have some CDs at Suburban Bank and Trust and at Parkway Bank and Trust and at Charter One Bank. And those interest rates that we negotiated are on the second handout that you have, which is this short memo about Harris Bank, and attached to it is all the interest rates for all those CDs. So that's where we were pretty much last fall. That's how we set things up. Then we began reaching out to the local banks in Wooddale. And my first memorandum tells you that we've also met with Suburban Bank and Trust. They agreed to set up a government money market fund for the city of Wooddale that pays 5.1%. So that's a little lower than the Illinois funds and a little lower than Itasca Bank, but it's still within reason because we're only talking a few basis points. Parkway Bank and Trust, we hope to meet with them next Tuesday, and at that time we may increase the amount of investments with Parkway Bank depending on the rates that they quote us. I called TCF Bank. TCF Bank is one of those banks that they only have one 800 number. They have no local numbers whatsoever. When I spoke with the receptionist, I explained who I was and what I was looking for, and she kept saying to me, "I need your account number." And I said, "Well, I'd love to give you one, but we're not there yet." And we went back and forth several times, and she finally said to me, "The only way you can reach anybody is to go to the branch." And I said, I doubt that the branch will handle the deposit of government funds. It's a little more complicated than that. And I just kept going around in circles with her, so we didn't get anywhere. The funniest call was to the Bank of Commerce, because I spoke to the president of the bank, and he doesn't offer anything for governments because he does not collateralize funds. I did explain to him that that is required by state statute, but they don't get involved with that. So we didn't get anywhere with those two. But then I spoke with a gentleman at Harris. I got a real live person there because I had a number to get through. And his name is Don Pittman, and he was very interested in doing business with the city of Wooddale. He called me on Monday and told me that they would pay 10 basis points lower than Illinois funds on $500,000. And this afternoon he called me and he said, "You know, if you can get that up to $1 million, I can go 10 basis points higher than Illinois funds." And that's a government money market, so there'd be no term to it. That's nice. So I wanted to bring that to your attention. I guess probably what should happen here is we'll wait until we talk with Parkway, then I'll have a full array of all the banks, and then the council can decide if you want to move some more money around. We already moved an additional $1 million into the Suburban Bank because that was agreed upon, but we'll talk about Harris, and I'll get you Parkway, and then we'll be finished. So I think the city is doing pretty well. You look at the current rates, we're talking about Harris Itasca paying 5.32. That was 10 points over Illinois funds. And we've got CDs that go anywhere from 5.2 to 5.31. And then we've got Harris Bank willing to do either 10 points under for $500,000 or 10 points over for $1 million. That's really good interest rates. And we'll see it at the end of the year when we see all the interest income, just like we did at the end of this last fiscal year. it certainly is making a difference. But it was nice to see that the banks that responded were responding in the same ballpark. You know, they're not, nobody quoted me anything silly like 4.2%.
Okay.
And they all absolutely, the ones that I spoke to who gave me these rates are willing to collateralize at 110% of value. So we'd be in good shape.
Any questions on that?
Maggie, explain to somebody who doesn't know banking, what do they collateralize it with?
Well, they usually they have to pledge it with their own securities that they own. Usually they use treasury instruments, sometimes mortgage-backed securities. It's all full faith and credit of the United States government. Nothing esoteric, nothing strange like stocks. It has to be government securities. And I get a listing every month showing me both the cost value and the market value of the collateral so that I'm sure that we have sufficient collateral. You know, sometimes when we're moving funds around, and particularly when we're collecting money on a daily basis, the week that we collect on water bills, our deposits go up at Itasca Bank. Okay, we have to watch that daily so that we don't exceed the collateral that they've pledged to us. We have to make sure that it's protected at all times. Now, on these other banks, just using an example of a CD, the CD stays the same. We ask for 110% collateral so that as it accrues interest, we're still covered. Okay, and nobody's paying us 10% interest, so we're okay at this point. If that happens, though, then we'll ask for more collateral. That's how it works. So it's all perfectly safe.
Thank you for the good answer.
Any other questions on that? Okay. Info item, you got the treasury report for June and July of 2007. Any questions, concern about the treasury report? Okay. Okay. Item, consider future meeting, special census of the Page Water Commissioner backup well funding request, October audit for April 30th, 2007, and the IMRF credit for military service. What, could you tell me why that's coming? Didn't we discuss this before, a couple months ago?
No, we did the early retirement incentive for IMRF. This is brand new, the military service credit. Up until this week, a community could decide to allow employees to purchase 2 years of military service credit. And of course, there'd be a cost to the employee and cost to the city to allow them to do that. This week, the law was passed changing that to 4 years. So we have about 7 or 8 employees that might be eligible for that. So we'll be doing a cost study and just bringing that to you to decide. But it will have a cost attached to it, just like the early retirement incentive did. The reason why we're holding up a little bit is because IMRF needs to give us new actuarial formulas to use to do this, and they didn't know if the law was going to pass. So what they gave us was not useful. So we're hoping to have that to you by September 27th. But it'll just be an analysis of who would be potentially eligible, what it would cost the city, how it would be paid off, that sort of thing. And then you would discuss that and decide if you wanted us to move forward and actually form an ordinance and bring it to council.
Okay, thank you. Any other items to be put on the agenda? Okay, I'll make a motion to adjourn the Finance Committee. All in favor? Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.
And I'd like to call to order the September 13th meeting of the Planning, Zoning, and Building Committee, with the minute takers show that the same people are present. First item is a approval of the minutes of August 9th. Is there a motion to approve these minutes as presented?
So move.
Do I have a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. First item is a report and recommendation on case number 07-SU5, special use at 199 South Addison. Petitioner is a 123 Fit requests a special use permit to allow the operation of a 2,500 square foot health club in the Brookwood Office Center at 199 South Addison Road. I will make or ask for a recommendation for a motion to approve. Do I have a motion?
I second it. I'll make a motion to approve.
Okay, do I have a second? Second. Questions?
I have a question. Is petitioner here?
Alderman Wesley.
Which one of the buildings are you looking at? 190 South Addison Road, there's several of them there. Am I correct? There's Elmhurst Hospital.
Sir, you have to go to the podium, please. Is the mic on?
It's the far northeast corner of the property,
So that's by the daycare center.
the opposite.
Oh, the
they're on
opposite.
southeast corner. This is
Okay.
the northeast corner. We're the largest part of the parking lot.
Okay, and you aren't looking to add on to that building, are you?
No, sir.
Okay. All right, then I have no problem moving forward. I just want to know which building you were taking. I know Elmer's. That's all I have.
Any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
If not,
One question
yes.
while the
Alderman
gentleman's up
Lewitton.
there. Thank you. What condition is the parking lot in?
Been completely repaid. The new owners spent $75,000.
Thank you.
Anything else? Will the minute taker please call the roll on this one?
Alderman Police,
Yes.
Alderman Coles,
Yes.
Alderman Winger,
Yes.
Alderman Knipe,
Yes.
Alderman Cadella,
Yes.
Alderman Wesley,
Yes.
Alderman Shockey,
Yes, yes.
Alderman Lewitton.
Yes.
Motion carries. The next item is report and recommendation on case number 07-V8 Climb Homes, rezoning to R2 from the approved annexation R1 and a variation for a reduction in the right-of-way width of the portion of the right-of-way which borders an adjacent parcel of land not under control of the petitioner to allow for the construction and use of 12 single-family detached homes. Subdivision will provide detention and a dedicated roadway. The proposed subdivision meets all R2 zoning bulk regulations. I did promise that I would allow one person to speak in, and I can't find your name again, I'm sorry. Would you come up and introduce yourself? And you said you would make just a short couple of comments. Oh, Mrs. Ilker, I'm sorry.
I'm Frances Elford. I live at the property right next door. I did have a question though, because when I looked at the paper before, there was supposed to be a 5-foot, I don't know what they want to call it, for sidewalks that would be for future development. And also, the plan had half of a cul-de-sac that would go, and that half a cul-de-sac, you know, if that was ever finished, we're thinking that we're going to be moving or something like that. Our property has never been for sale, and I hope it won't be for sale, and I hope it never will be developed. So that cul-de-sac is kind of, you know, not really a very nice thing. Now, if there are 12 houses we're going to be put into this particular property here, it was going to create a water problem because of the water that stands in the back of the property that's there almost all the time. When it rains heavy, there's water on the front of the property. And our property would have roots into it. And there would be many of the beautiful trees that would be taken down. Now, I know that builders, you know, have to get rid of trees and so forth, but the trees that are on that property are absolutely beautiful. And we have a sign right next to our driveway says Tree City USA. And also the mayor of Wooddale, you know, is really very interested in the Clean Air Act, and there was a little thing that I had in the paper that came with, you know, things that go on in the area here. And the trees are probably one of the best things that get rid of the pollution in the air and everything that we have. So I honestly think that 12 houses in that area is just way too many. It would be, I think his houses would be much enhanced if he spread them out just a little bit, maybe didn't have so many of them in there, and tries to save as many of the trees as possible.
Thank you very much. Representative from Klein Homes, would you? Mr. Zimmer.
Yes, Terrence Zimmer on behalf of the Klein Homes Project. Alderman Shockey, we would have a request if this could be remanded back to the ZBA today. We've made some substantial changes in the plans that we feel should have to be reconsidered by the ZBA as well as staff, and we would ask that instead of going ahead tonight in kind of a half prepared status, that the matter be remanded back to the ZBA for further consideration based on the substantive changes that we've made, and to allow staff adequate time to review the changes that we have suggested since the last time we presented the matter.
I'll make a motion, therefore, to remit back to the zoning board of appeals. Pardon me? We'll just go to the planning commission because there's no variation request any longer. Just the planning commission? Okay. Motion to take it back to the planning commission. Do I have a second? Second. We have a second question.
I have a couple of questions. On the revised plan, are we looking at private road again?
No, this is a dedicated public street. This is not a private road.
And the reason is because you did a whole different plan? Is this property annexed in yet?
No. We have eliminated a variance request and enhanced some of the fire code compliance requests that we found necessary to do.
Again, I will state my opinion on this. Property is not annexed in Wooddale. And I am not, I mean, the builder took the gamble, annex in, and he could de-annex off if it doesn't go through. I don't think it's fair. I know we have done it in the past. I still don't think it's fair to tie up the staff's time and everyone else, even though they're paying us for the staff time, to consider this development until they are annexed into Wooddale. They can always de-annex out of Wooddale. I know our attorney says we've done it in the past. I think it's time to change the policy here and not allow it because it's wasting our staff time. Because you know what? After what happened with the 4-lot subdivision here last week, you know, they're going to come back in here again. And if they get denied again, we'll bring it back up again and we'll get it to pass again. I am not doing that again, what we did last week on a 4-lot subdivision. So I suggest that if you're going to send that, then they annex in the property first, then sit with our people.
Alderman Wesley, the next item on the agenda is an approval request for the zoning code rewrite. And I believe we intend to make that change in that rewrite, but at this point, we legally cannot stop them, cannot change that right now for this specific case. So I understand your feeling, and is there any more comments?
Yes. Follow up with that, then I want an analyzed bill on what they have paid so far with our staff time and doing this. And with our people sitting down there and helping you redesign this plan, that's wrong, okay? That is wrong. And I want to know how much it is costs and how much they are paying us. Because I still don't think it's fair. I don't think we can get our bucks for what we been. When our people sit there and try to help them to redesign the plan, I'm sorry. Our staff's got more time to do on other projects than do that. I mean, I'm sorry. That is not fair. And I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to wait to the policy rewrite. I think we should move forward and changing that now that they annex the property in. I'm not waiting that long. I'll tell you that right now.
Mr. Manager.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just to clarify, up to this point, they paid over $6,000 for review up to this point, and we will make sure that they pay the total amount.
And Alderman West, I would like to point out, we do not seek the advice of the staff. We come to the staff only for them to review. We do not use the services of the city to design anything that we present to the city. We have an engineer that we have paid. We only basically get comments so that we can bring it in and comply with the city requirements. Staff is only used to comply and make sure that things are done the way the city would like them, demands them to be done as far as compliance with codes. We don't come to them and ask them to design. We don't come to them and ask them to somehow modify our plans. Everything is done by our own engineers.
Boy, you were here last week for a 4-lot subdivision, and you told us in public that the staff recommends or concerns or recommend a private street. You told us that, and don't tell me you didn't.
That's correct, and that is the purpose of the meetings with staff, is to seek their recommendations so that the plan can be in compliance with the code requirements. That's the only source that we have to come to in regards to have the plan preview. That's, I believe, the purpose of staff is to review and make recommendations, and we certainly seek their recommendations so that we can implement them in our plans. It is not that we come to them to have them design or get opinions. It is recommendations based on their experience, their knowledge of the ordinances, and what they consider is necessary for the protection of the benefits of the city.
Anybody else? Alderman Cadella.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, but to be fair and upfront with the petitioner, since you are backtracking through the process and you're going to do part of this over and then move forward, I believe that it is the opinion of the majority of this committee that we are going to insist on R1
Alderman
on this
Cadella,
property.
can I interrupt just a
Please
minute?
do.
We can insist, as you say, on less density. That's really as far as we should go at this point. Less density. And I agree with that. If you want to continue, go ahead.
Okay, I'll leave it. Well, I believe that's what I intended to say. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Alderman Lewitton.
I'd like to address this to Attorney Zimmer, with Frances also, Eckerhart in the room. I know she's not in the 4th Ward, and I know she's not even in the city, but she did express a concern that you are cutting down trees on her property at this time. And I'd like to know, do you concur with her opinion? And second, what compensation have you offered her?
No, I do not concur with the opinion. No trees can be touched on her land or on her property whatsoever. We have not entered the trespass on her property unless we get consent. We have no consent for trees, and no trees, to my knowledge, have been cut on her property.
Would it be proper to ask Frances Eckerhart to come up and repeat that accusation against him at this time?
Well, I don't know if we want to have an accusation. That would be a personal thing.
Well, we want to know if
between-
they're cutting trees on other people's property, and if they are, what compensation they provide for it.
As I stated at the other meetings that we had when we were here, okay, Mr. Clyde's property